a what 2-second clip is the sum total of my entire perspective on this matter. I'm a political commentator. Do you think I haven't talked about this extensively? Holy, that is so crazy. Just a quick reference point to what Hasan actually believes versus the lies. 1. Hasan enables anti-Semitism to be commonplace on Twitch. No.
Come on. Anti-Semitism has no place in the leftist movement. It has never had a space in the leftist movement. The leftist movement is first and foremost comprised of revolutionary Jews to begin with, okay? It was literally attacked as a Jewish plot, as a Jewish conspiracy. That's what the Nazis said. That's why the first people they threw in the concentration camps were socialists. It is a very dangerous prospect to make this conflation, which serves the interests of anti-Semites. It sometimes feels like, especially for Christian Zionists, okay, that they have no fear in Nazis whatsoever. I know that Jewish ultra-Zionists still understandably fear Nazis, neo-Nazis, and fascists, but I am afraid of this wave of propaganda turning people's opinions and dropping them from being understandably fearful of the statistical probability that if they do withstand some kind of anti-Semitic action, it will be in the hands of a neo-Nazi rather than a Muslim person, okay? But the other side of this also is very frustrating. A chatter said, what about anti-Islam? What about Islamophobia and actions such as Islamophobic actions? We do not have a good enough mechanism, unfortunately, in the United States of America, which has in the past 3 decades made Muslims globally their major enemies in an effort to justify their blood and soil propaganda and imperialist actions in the Middle East. So there is no mechanism to truly figure out exactly what level of anti-Islamophobia or what level of Islamophobia exists in society right now. There was a
Damn, that's crazy. I guess I fucking precogged all this shit. That's why it's so funny when people say, Hasan, why don't you respond to this? Why don't you respond to that? The fuck am I supposed to do? I responded to it months before it became an issue for you, I guess. That's why I always laugh when people say, Hasan, your opinions have changed. No, they haven't. Hasan denies raids happened on October 7. Hasan laughed at Kamala bringing up October 7. No, he doesn't. Explain something. Sexual assaults are a routine part of atrocities during war. It can happen, and it has happened time and time again, which is why there's a likelihood that it could have happened on October 7. New York Times, the narrative of systematic rapes that were conducted by Hamas on October 7. The New York Times has absolutely made up their minds ahead of time before the story ever published and refuses to do their journalistic due diligence. They do engage in State Department propaganda notoriously and historically. Is why there is a likelihood that it could have happened on October 7th. This is a position that I've maintained since October 7th. There were plenty of atrocities that occurred on October 7th, okay, that are akin to acts of terror. Because on October 7th, it wasn't just the Palestinian Brigades, a coalition of resistance forces that includes Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PFLP, DFLP, and many others. It was also, once the barrier into Israel was broken, there was also criminal elements that broke through said barrier. But as far as we saw, given how much of what happened on October 7 was filmed, including the actual real atrocities of Palestinian forces executing civilians, shooting at porta potties and the like during the Nova Festival and many other circumstances, the likelihood that there wasn't firsthand accounts on rampant sexual assault in the way that the original coverage entailed, that didn't meet the muster, like the normal standard of the New York Times reporting. There are some reasons for it, because this was, for all intents and purposes, as far as the Palestinian resistance goes, a operation that was, in their own words, much more successful than they had predicted. They thought that there would be a lot more resistance overall, and that once the dam broke, there was a ton more violence than a quick in and out operation where they would be able to capture some prisoners of war as hostages in an effort to bargain, yeah. So there's that. Hasan is doing bigotry of low expectations. Hasan expects nothing from this kid, Yemeni genocide survivor, no decency, no quality. Consistent on reactionaries. Okay, because no one is born a reactionary. No one is born a conservative, but let's say someone is conservative here. They automatically teleported and adjusted to the material conditions of conservatism in Iran. They would be no different than the mullah. No one is born a conservative. But let's say someone was someone that is conservative here, if they automatically teleported and adjusted to the material conditions of like conservatism in Iran, they would be no different than the mullahs. That's my opinion. Like, and not only that, but in terms of the Yemeni kid, like, I went into that interview, and I've repeated myself quite a bit, right? I went into that interview assuming that there's a likelihood that he might be Houthi, okay? A Houthi rebel, a Houthi pirate. Aside from the memes and whatnot, that was my overarching assumption. There is a likelihood that this person, because at the time, we had seen him like going towards the ship and whatnot on a fucking dinghy. I did not know that it was a tourist destination in Yemen, basically, that you can go to and fucking take photos of or whatever. Having said that, however, in the interview, I wanted to first and foremost humanize him, okay, and make him feel comfortable despite the fucking communications barrier that we had, the language barrier that we had. And beyond that, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the background of a person who has experienced only genocide, who has grown up under genocide. That is real. You might not know about this. You might not know about the famine in Yemen. You might not know about like American-backed actions of Saudi Arabia in Yemen, UAE in Yemen, but it still doesn't matter. Like, that is a real thing that occurred. Having said that, in that conversation and in many conversations since then, where this person has given interviews to Sky News, for example, he has reiterated the position that he is not a Houthi, that he is simply Yemeni. Like, he is simply a person from Yemen, a kid from Yemen, a social media influencer. If he was a Houthi rebel, for the record, if he was a Houthi rebel, I still see value in interviewing that person. But I'm not gonna sit here and be like, nah, there's this 19-year-old who has a gun in Yemen, the second highest gun ownership per capita country on the planet after the United States of America, is automatically a Houthi terrorist who is deeply invested in the actions of the Ansar Allah movement because people are fucking screaming about it. That's it. All right. And I know that the major anger and resentment coming from a lot of people is like, oh, you asked him about whether he watches anime or not. Of course. Yes. Like I said, my job, first and foremost, was to understand this person's development. Okay. How he got to this position that he is in. Houthi social media sensation compared to Hollywood stars calls on UK and US to stop this war. In this conversation, the 19-year-old Yemeni has been dubbed Tim Houthi Chalamet and the hot Houthi pirate on the internet for his videos on the Red Sea. Attacks by Yemen's Houthi fighters, officially known as supporters of God or Ansar Allah in Arabic, have been made against Israel and on commercial ships. The Iranian-backed group has defied repeated warnings to stop targeting ships. US and British forces have launched strikes in the area. But Rashid told Sky News he has been posting videos about his experience to show solidarity with Palestine. Through translation, he added, my message is that they stop this war and reassess the situation in Palestine. There are children starving, thirsty, dying under bombardment in Gaza, like a 2-year-old dying from bombardment. Why? Because of the actions of the Zionists. Yemen stood with Palestine and was being bombarded for his solidarity, but this hasn't affected us and we continue to stand by Palestine. He considers himself a media personality, but his main mission is to spread awareness about Palestine. Rashid had to keep setting up new accounts as the previous ones on Facebook would get shut down. All of the Yemeni people are with Ansar Allah and with Palestine. Even if I appear with arms, all Yemeni carry arms. It's normal, he added. The reason why he answered this question is because they probably asked him, even though it's not mentioned in this article, whether he was a Houthi himself or if he was Ansar Allah, where he says all the Yemeni people are with Ansar Allah, as in he is not a part of Ansar Allah, as he said to me in the interview. Okay, just so people understand, just so there is no. Just so people have an understanding of this. Not that it fucking matters. Ban me. You were a pretty good person to get into politics with, and I appreciate that. But after going through yours and other streamers' history, you are the most cowardly individual when it comes to defending your takes against others. DGGer for life. I'm not gonna ban you, brother. I don't know if the mods already did. I hope you live a happy life. I do mean it. Like God damn, dude. How the fuck do you get here? 2022. It was Dearborn. I live near there. We're going to vote on an upcoming election. We're voting on the Dearborn situation. It seems the book should be allowed for public viewing. For real, why the fuck am I here? Why am I even a liberal? Oh, yeah, because I got a 5-figure check coming from TYT. Like, that's how much of a fucking fan he was that he was joking about TYT checks. You still have the old reputation of losing your shit at right-wing videos back in the day. People who don't watch say you're too opinionated. Bammy, you were a pretty good person to get into politics, and I appreciate that. But after going through yours and other streamers' history, you are the most cowardly individual when it comes to defending your takes. DGGer for life. 4/17/2023. Literally cuts off a valid point that young people aren't doing in part in research and IP. Keep cooking, bro. Don't you think you're scared of arguing against her, but you don't think a significant amount of younger voters refusing to vote over Israel-Palestine is indicative of not understanding what Trump would do in office? Whoa, sorry. Last thing, because I heard you say it. Joe Biden's office has the same immigration policies as Trump. No, I'm not arguing to be contrarian, but truly two different worldviews, but thanks for responding. My dude, I'm not learning shit from a Twitch stream, and neither are you. Do not pretend watching a stream is research. Also, literally thinks watching a stream is research. Isn't it weird to call it a cracker take? Why not just call it a normie take or something? White people don't fully support Israel or Palestine in America. This is what I've talked about in terms of like not killing the reactionary in your fucking brain. You end up inevitably adopting the whatever the fucking if your entire worldview revolves around trying to find a sense of community for yourself online, you will, before realizing it, over the course of maybe a couple years, literally go against things that you previously fought for. And it happens. Like it happens like that. This is very scary. This is scary shit. I mean, you laugh about the cartel issue, but who's actually getting into office to fix that without international support? Are you implying liberals are mad because they think she's going to implement a communist rule? How much of our family's background do you think liberals push back against? Ran through military installations. They got through a wall, my dude. Just to be clear, there's a distinction between the Israeli government's policy morals versus Israeli citizens. 10/7/2024. For the clip of you watching Kamala and grimacing when she said Hamas rape women, what is the missing context? How do you become such a loyal fucking soldier like this? This could be us, Chad. We need to stay vigilant, not let a reactionary inside of us grow. I hope you cover the weirdest arc in the culture war 3 weeks out from Election Day. The skeletons from Red Scare trying to convince everyone they eat McDonald's daily. Oh, that's amazing. As someone who's watched you in the 2IT days, always so fucking wild to me seeing people who've known about you that long turn against you. I know why, and I know how it happens. People are very passionate in this community. And if there is an issue, and I'm a very passionate person, if there's an issue that they find to be at odds with their worldview, it causes them to like be shocked. It strips their identity almost. And they're like, what the fuck? I'm no longer welcome in this community. And then they seek out other places where they can get this kind of, they look for another hug box basically. And there are plenty of anti-Hasan communities out there. But obviously the number one is the number one anti-Hasan community has been the cult that it has been cyber stalking and meticulously fucking logging every moment that they can use through all of the political things that I've talked about to just basically create like haters in every sector. Chronically online people that behave in a cultish way that will change their political opinions on a whim as long as their divorcelli God decides to change his perspective. I know this because he had a dramatic perspective shift since 2018 when I first met him. Over the course of the past 6 years, he has gone back on a litany of positions that he argued for with passion. Serious question, do these trolls do this for free? Yes, they do. Absolutely. Why was that? Why mine changed? I don't know. I don't know what a person's personal motivations are. This is going to be every stream until the election. We're 13 days away from the election. It's all internet drama bullshit. I know. I just felt it. I felt the need to, clear certain things, like to clarify certain things, considering that I'm getting fucking, a barrage of slander. After watching so much shit, I want to just say thank you. I don't care about specific American policies, not from there, but the way you break down policies and reference actual journalists is so commendable. Appreciate you caring much about the world. I don't know if it matters, but I'm referencing you in my master's thesis. Sorry for brain rot, just ruining chat. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get hated as much as you do. Like, I stayed away from your content since 2020 because everyone was always ranting about how problematic you are and other bullshit to find out you're just advocating for human rights. Yes. When you are depressed, stuff like this gives you a sense of being in a community, but long term, this will just harm your existence. Yeah, that's what I also try to explain to people in general, that like this kind of this kind of championing for someone else, like an internet content creator that doesn't fucking know you, and fighting their battles like this is not going to make your life better. It's just simply going to increase the toxicity in your life. Most people do not have the time to watch an entire stream or to fully comprehend what my worldview is, and therefore they just often make up their own mind. They see like a bunch of people being like, this guy fucking sucks. And then they go, okay, maybe this guy fucking sucks. I don't even fault them for it. Okay. I don't even care necessarily. If they also did not dramatically change their worldview and start advocating for like white people being able to say the N-word or whatever the fuck, it wouldn't matter to me as much. Like if someone is pro-Palestine unconditionally, but they have issues with me in general, I think that anger is most likely misguided and misplaced, but it doesn't matter. If anything, it's also an indication of how much this community touches grass, for sure. I mean, there's plenty who don't touch grass in this community as well, let's be real. But when you shit on the rainbow flag was the point of my journey where I realized I'm not immune to being reactionary. It's funny because it's a stupid reason to be upset with you talking about how shit tier its colors are. We disagree on a lot of topics, and that's okay. I will never say farting on planes is okay, but understand that planes are loud. So maybe everyone does it, and you're the only one brave enough to say it out loud. Yeah, that's the other side. I mean, that person is joking, but like there can be a bunch of fucking things that you disagree with me on. The point is, bro, your take on Ukraine was so bad you lost a lot of people there for a moment. See, like people are still rehashing this shit. No, I was wrong to assume that Russia, specifically Vladimir Putin, would do such an unimaginably fucking insane thing. An unimaginably insane thing that is ultimately harming Russian lives as well as Ukrainian lives. I'm saying that, like, obviously, Putin should at the very least care to a certain degree about his own self-governance. You said you didn't care about the Ukrainian constitution. Yeah, I care about human lives. I care about sparing human lives. I care about fucking making sure that Ukrainians don't die in the fucking meat grinder. What do you mean? Like, again, do you think I don't care about the sum total of like Ukrainian sovereignty? I do. I think it's unconscionable and completely unjustifiable that Russia invaded Ukraine. There's never been a moment where I've considered that to be acceptable or appropriate. And yet you still are pointing to something that is like, you're in the community of a person who has fundraised for Ukrainian victims of Russia's unjustifiable war. Someone who is, okay, you learned a lot, I said for a moment. No, dog, you misunderstood my point that I was making. I don't even remember exactly what this was in context to, but like, again, you're doing the thing. I also don't give a shit about the American Constitution either, for the record. So I don't know if you know that, but I routinely have said I wipe my ass with the American Constitution. I don't give a fuck. Fuck the Second Amendment, for example. Your take on Ukraine wasn't wrong. We're probably too early for most of us to take. Alman DeLorean says, the issue is so many people have with you is that you point out the double standards and flaws within the hegemony we all live in. Most streamers and content creators and streamers are Western chauvinistic, and you're one of the few large creators that actively battle that. It's about bigotry, white supremacy, and better than thou attitudes. Yes, I think that plays a big role. Having said that, there are some other points. No, Hasan supports Russia. No, he doesn't. He also raised $200K for Ukraine. Hitler, which by the way, Vladimir Putin is bad. Look at the sign. Actually, sorry, I forgot we elevated that to Vladimir Putin is very bad. From bad to very bad. Look at the sign. Then you have to go to war. You have to go do dance-offs on TikTok with Russia. Hasan and his community are fundraising for Care.org Ukraine Crisis Fund, $200,000 so far. Here's the Russian military ad. According to Russia, they don't know who the fuck you are, but they don't seem to like me a lot. Meanwhile, turns out, according to Russia, they don't know who the fuck you are, but it seems like they don't like me a lot. Yeah, I got dunked on by the Russian government. That was cool. Hasan defends Chinese colonialism openly. He's pro-genocide in Tibet, not even debatable. He said it himself. He said their culture is inferior and that China did them a favor by taking them over. That's genocide. No, he doesn't. Tibet was a feudal, oppressive, slavery-backed autonomous state. Guardian, 98% of the population was enslaved. Way to describe Taiwan as well. The American federal government going into the fucking South and killing, unfortunately not all of them, but a decent amount of slavers and defenders of slavery. This is violent retribution from a powerful federal government. That comparison is very frustrating for a lot of people because they were like, how dare you say that? Yeah, it's not even an apt comparison because the fucking Mao's groups would not have any kind of, would have no motion whatsoever if it wasn't for Tibetans themselves that like that had a anti-feudal uprising. What is this?
This is from The Guardian. Until 1959, when trying to crack down on Tibetan rebels in the...
Yeah. It's just like, I don't think that like Tibetan culture is a fucking barbaric or anything like that. Okay. It's the Tibetans themselves that, you know, rose up against feudal slavery. The only place we deviate is that I don't think we should displace 8 million Jews that were born there. Hasan agrees. Why I don't believe in a two-state solution any longer.
So,
not only do I agree with that no displacement of Jews that live there, I have had this conversation directly with Ethan. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about in terms of like, in terms of his belief that I think like I believe that we should displace all of the people that live there. We had this conversation directly. Here it is.
There already is a one state. Like, the way I see it, the actual legitimate reason as to why I don't believe in a two-state solution any longer is because there is a one state, right? And that one state is an apartheid state. It's a constant Israeli occupation in the West Bank and constant control over Gaza as well, which has been a demonstrable failure for Israeli security, obviously. You and I agree on that. But my solution, basically, when I say I want a one state, is first and foremost a moral one, because I do want the end to the apartheid so that Palestinians can have recognition, it can continue a life of dignity, have autonomy, and participate in a secular democratic process. But the alternative is, the way I see it is like, is it a one state that is an apartheid, or is it a one state that doesn't have an apartheid? And
you're saying it could still be the state of Israel.
I don't care what it's called. I have no interest in discussing that. I care more about like human beings that live there.
I guess, it's like this.
I have said time and time again that I think it would be unimaginable cruelty to displace hundreds of thousands of people living in the West Bank. Okay. That it is completely, it's just not going to happen. Like, not only will it never happen, but also on top of that, it would be cruel. And that is precisely the reason why I believe that Israel has made it inevitable that there can only be a one state if there is a just solution to all of this. Admission to slander. For a year, Hasan was constantly elevating people that want me to fucking die and running defense for people that fucking... Wait, what is this? Ease admission to slander?
And that's why
for a year. It was just constant, like, elevating people that want me to fucking die and running defense for people that fucking hate me.
Yeah, that's also completely untrue. There was another effort post specifically on this, on my subreddit, specifically about how I had consistently defended Ethan throughout the entire process for the past year, saying that all things that I have heard from him directly, all things that I have seen from him directly contradict like him being this Israel defender. Having said that, however, of course, I have also tried to communicate to Ethan that, like, while I know that you are not a defender of Israel, people are not going to know what's in your heart and what's in your mind, and they only respond to what you are putting out there. So if 12 months of genocide and your output is specifically about like people calling you a Zionist over and over again, including but not limited to many different moments where people would come in here and be like, he made fun of Aaron Bushnell, who self-immolated. He did this, he did that. He kept repeating certain talking points over and over again. And it's like, all of that is going to obviously cause people to assume that you are more invested in one side of this conversation. Even in that conversation that we had months ago, that last conversation that we had in person, when he made a comparison about JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, saying that there were capos as well in the Nazi regime that collaborated with the Nazi regime, that like, I tried to explain to him that like, I don't think you mean this. And yet people will hear that. People will hear that and assume that that's what you mean. Of course, people are going to assume that that's what you are saying. That's what I meant at the time when I tried to explain, like, there's only so much I can do in terms of like stopping the fucking flow of criticism coming your way when you present yourself a certain way to the broader audience and you don't actually show the audience like what the full scale of your framework is. The moral of this whole story is what you said. If you repeat what Zionists say, you can't stop people from thinking you're a Zionist. Exactly. This is the other effort pose. Timestamp breakdown. Hasan defends Ethan on September 13th, 2024. Ethan took a clip from this stream out of context on his show, so I figured it would be a good idea to add context by breaking down the stream with timestamps. Impossible to argue that Hasan is doing anything but standing up for Ethan and telling off his chat in the stream, regardless of what Ethan's unhinged, untrue rant, calling for his friend to be banned on Twitch will have you think. Ethan turning off comments on the video when fans disagree with him in the comments is insane. I think a lot of people fail to consider that when I choose not to show certain things coming from Ethan's side, it is not because I'm fearful of the brilliant points that he's making. It's more so that it's disappointing, it's sad to see, and beyond that, it's more so to, in some ways, not present him in the worst possible fucking light that he is desperately presenting himself as. Hasan begins reacting to the video why the Leftovers podcast ended. Hasan talks about why he never talks about Ethan, why Leftovers ended, because parasocialism and him not being at odds with Ethan on Israel-Palestine. Hasan says he doesn't care that Ethan calls him out because he knows Ethan's heart is in the right place about Israel-Palestine, regardless of how he treats Hasan's community and mods. Hasan defends Ethan, telling off his chat and saying that Ethan will never become MAGA. Anti-Semitism is abhorrent and completely unacceptable. I have never allowed it. It is my red line. Hasan says when he looks back at Leftovers, he's happy that it happened. Hasan supports enjoying Ethan's content, even when people disagree. Stark tone difference from Ethan saying Hasan should be banned on Twitch because of how Hasan's content makes him feel, don't you think? Hasan says that he got the feeling that Ethan thought Hasan was trying to turn the H3 community against Ethan, when Hasan was instead offering him more charitability and banning chatters who came into the stream to shit talk Ethan / cause drama. Hasan defends Ethan's character, even when Ethan gets too passionate and flies off the rails, because ultimately Hasan thinks Ethan's heart is in the right place. Hasan says Ethan is 90% of the way on the correct stance on Israel-Palestine. Hasan says, please point to anti-Semites in the chat so we can ban them. Says anti-Semitism is banned in his community. Of course, because it always has been. Hasan tells off a chatter for condemning Ethan instead of commending Ethan for having the correct take in 2021. Hasan tells chat to shut the fuck up, and he hates that they don't care about his well thought out opinion and hates how they call Ethan a Nazi and why he hates covering drama with Ethan. And he knows that people will spin his opinion to prove his community is anti-Semitic. Hasan goes off on chat again, calling them crazy and telling them they can't be normal, saying that it's not Destiny chatters cosplaying, but rather people who say he is not sufficiently leftist. If I ever catch someone talking maliciously about Gila, I will ban you. You are an unhinged psycho. Permanently bans chatter talking bad about Ethan. Hasan correctly predicts a reasonable take on the issue will not get clipped, but instead an out of context take will be clipped by Boner Chelly's community, which Ethan did use, by the way. Not only did he go directly to the fucking subreddit, but he also straight up used a clip from a clip titled Hasanabi. How can I view that in any framework but pure, unadulterated, unregulated Islamophobia? An unlisted clip titled Hasanabi. Like, that's insane, man. That's insane. That's actually fucking insane. That is not good faith at all. There is no way for me to actually fucking look at that and treat that with like kindness and charitability beyond what I've done. I think the most charitable thing that I can do is refuse to talk about it. You know, it's insane that you support CCP. Okay, dude. I just want high-speed rail in the United States of America. I want even development in rural communities in the United States of America. Okay. I want healthcare in the United States of America. I want good college education in the United States of America that is free. I want better educational opportunities for every single American. Okay. Hasan identifies someone posting in the H2 subreddit as a D-fan, LSF stalker who's been clipping him for 5 years. Frogan clip from Ethan's podcast. Hasan correctly predicts that all that will come out of the situation is drama that turns into drama content and says that his audience is annoying and don't listen to him. Hasan correctly predicts that random chatters' unnecessary chirping messages will be twisted against them. Ethan showed them on stream today. Hasan rage quits on chat, explaining how their acting is why Leftovers ended, asking his chat to focus on what matters and will advance the cause of a free Palestine. Just felt this VOD / response from Hasan deserves a voice because Ethan didn't mention that Hasan defends him and tells off his chat about it. This is from September 13th, 2024. If you look back at the early stages of the saga and the drama, you will recognize that I had time and time again done more than this. Such a well thought out record keeping of Hasan's reasonableness, but have you considered that Hasan is a Muslim and sending waves to signal his audience? Is there any chance at all he sees this and gives you charitability? Oh, I want it for him. I don't know, maybe. That DanClancySucks.com website is literally reskinned Hasanabi.com, by the way, because even they realize that like that level of Islamophobic fervor is probably not going to present well to a broader audience. So they like basically reskinned it. And it's all fucking clips that are completely clipped out of context that go directly against things that I believe in. And this has been ongoing for the past year because that community Bonorcelli's community is way more predisposed with making a mockery and presenting a false narrative surrounding one of the loudest voices that is pro-Palestinian emancipation than the actual genocide. They don't give a shit. They do not give a fucking shit. Why do this? He's just going to misconstrue your points like last night. It's okay, because there's 38,000 people in here, and not every single person in here is totally fucking primed and totally tuned into this shit. So it deserves some level of recognition for those who are in here who are like, I don't really understand. I thought you were a cool guy, but now I'm thinking that you're a fucking pro-Islamist fundamentalist terrorist, dude. Like, what the fuck? For a year, Hasan was constantly elevating people that fucking hate me. Hasan has always defended I think you're a good person. Just understand that people don't know the empathy that you have and simply see similar talking points that they've heard from others that don't demonstrate that same empathy.
That's all
Ethan,
I'm doing.
I know. I never
You
said that.
disagree, clearly. That's it. And that's fine.
I've never said any of those things against you, and I don't believe that. I'm simply trying to describe the position of Palestinians in this matter on this front. And,
You've done
not
that,
just
and I understand,
Palestinians,
bro.
but
I
anti-Zionists as a whole.
understand. I understand. I've listened to you. I agree.
I'm sorry. I don't want to fight. I think this is like, I mean, it sucks, and I'm sorry that I made you feel a certain way. I'm sorry that my community.
He's pretending that he has nothing to do with this. Ridiculous. He pulled a sub up on stream. I don't know why he's embarrassed about the association with Destiny. Like, I actually don't get it. Like we've seen it. I know where these talking points are coming from. Like, I know where these clips out of context are coming from. And it's like, my position on this has not changed, which is ironic because like people at the time did not fucking comprehend this. Like, people at the time were thinking like, oh, he's saying he has no control. He has no control over his own fucking community. Hasan has no control over his community. That's not what I was saying at all. There's only so much I can do, but I cannot mind control people into assuming that you are pro-Palestinian when you are using similar talking points to those who are, pro-Israel. I think people know that community is unhinged and obsessed. So Ethan knows it discredits his narrative. So yeah, I think this does a pretty solid job of like maybe showcasing like what the narrative is. You said this exact quote. I know it's weird that I repeat myself so much and have to do it time and time again. It's because D called X podcast buddy R word several times, so it's pathetic for him to capitulate that openly. Yeah, aren't there fucking logs of Destiny time and time again saying like Ethan is R worded over and over again? He's like pathetic and all this shit, and until basically this was a good vehicle to fucking unload the frustrations that you feel. This clip itself says, please be nice in the comments and do not harass Ethan. Hasan and Ethan are friends. Be respectful. Not just logs, but clips. He said he had an IQ of 80. Yes, there are tons of clips. It's just strange that like this level of serialized, systematized, open fucking cyber stalking and mass harassment campaigns is so normal, and there's like not really anything you can do. But yeah, I have to obviously still address some of this fucking slander, What is this? We've seen such a weird progression of Twitter wokeness to where now a plainly reactionary community like Destiny's can employ tools of shaming and canceling while still using slurs in the very same tweet that they do with. It's crazy that Hasan will shit all over me and call me a racist for using the N-word in quotes while doing a podcast with this guy, Lamau. Not trying to defend H3 by any means. It's just surreal how the previous generations of people calling cracker a slur would have rallied around H3 for using slurs in that clip, but have now found a way to have their cake and eat it. Appear progressive while reactionary. That's from, all the way back in 2021. That's not his account. Yes, it is. The fuck are you talking about? It was. I don't know what his new account is, but this was at the time his account. That's so funny. People are like, that's not his account. Yeah, he's been banned 1 million times over. I know you know
Honestly,
what everyone knows, but this was hilarious. Imagine lying to your audience so comfortably. What is this?
pretty severe the way that he draws everything back to Destiny. I don't know him. I've never talked about him on the channel.
because Destiny's been getting like mega canceled by every conservative for saying he doesn't give a fuck about the guy who died, which is whatever. You know, here's the one where he actually had a debate with Destiny. And main guys, there's Vosh, Destiny, and Hasan, and they all fucking hate each other. They're all social, or no, Destiny's not socialist, but they're all like libs, and they all fucking hate each other. And Destiny was digging in on him, rightfully so, in my opinion. I mean, she's Louise. Being like, I'm a terrible person. I'm the worst. And as soon as Destiny gets on, he goes, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. You're a terrible person. He says, Destiny and Ethan Klein call me foolish for supporting the Tate's innocence. And once Destiny calls in, he starts tilting him so fucking bad and just more and more and more deranged. I guess Destiny has a problem with this guy. I think everybody has a problem with this guy outside of Fresh and Fit. Like Destiny was saying,
these are the same same type of out of context clips that D watches. Like, I know he knows who he is, dog. What the fuck do you mean? Like, of course I know who. I know he knows who Destiny is. What are you talking about? He knows that the fucking subreddit was being brigaded at the time too. It's not necessarily that like he knows who he is. It's more so what my point is not that he knows who he is and he's lying about it. That everybody knows that. It's not that. My point is he's getting his compilation of clips, I don't think from his own production staff, to do like this clipped out of context, like Hasan is fucking extremist, loves Russia, loves China shit. I think he's getting it directly from Destiny's community, which is odd. Here, this is, yeah, I saw this. Ethan Klein scrolling Destiny subreddit for anti-Hasan talking points. Once again, how do you arrive at a Hasanabi, unlisted Hasanabi clip? A clip titled Hasanabi that is unlisted. For the clip of you watching Kamala and grimacing when she said Hamas raped women, what's the missing context? I don't know. Do you think that I haven't written extensively or talked extensively on October 7, the atrocities, what actually took place, the media coverage surrounding it, creating additional atrocity propaganda when it wasn't even necessary, but exclusively to fucking make it seem as though all of, all of Israel's actions that came after October 7 would be justifiable? Or do you think that a 2-second clip is the sum total of my entire perspective on this matter? I'm a political commentator. Do you think I haven't talked about this extensively? God damn, dude. Holy shit.